Okay, so the first skill I want to go through is completing the square. There's a few different examples here from past papers, and that would be this branch in here. So I didn't show you how to do it here, I was just saying it exists. So let's go through a bit more of the mechanics of it. We'll do a few together, so hopefully the kind of pattern becomes clear. And like I said, if you get into any of these where you think, right, I get this, that's great, move on to the next one. If you're not getting it, I'm not spending loads of time on these. Each video is only 10 minutes. Get your textbook out, go back to that chapter, and have a little look. Okay? It just gives you an idea for the flavour of the questions the SQA ask. There are harder questions in the textbook. So, express in the form of this. So, when you see this, you should be thinking, right, this is a complete the square question. So, all complete the square is a rearrange of this. Okay, so it's the exact same thing, just rearranged. Try and think of a good metaphor or analogy or something. It's when you kind of retidy your room and you put everything in a different place. It's still the same stuff in your room, but it's rearranged differently. Okay, so it looks different. And the reason we do this is to find our turning point. So the turning point for this one would be negative q r. Okay, we change the sign of this value and we keep this the same. That would be our turning point. And that helps us, obviously, as you can see, draw out the graph. So let's write this down. So we've got 2x squared plus 12x plus 23. Now the first thing I want to do is take out a common factor. So I'm going to take out 2 from just the first two terms. And at this point, I would encourage you to keep everything in a straight line, very much like your chimney sums from primary school and early secondary. Keep everything in a column just so we don't make a mistake. Let's just double check. 2x squared gives me that, and 2. Yep, so I've not made a mistake. That's good. Now what we do, I'll just actually write on the side what we've done there. So we've done common factor. Now what we're going to do is half that middle term. So that's 6x. We're going to half that. So I've still got my 2. And this is going to become plus 3. And the squared goes up there. So I've rewritten this like this. So by halving the middle term and then the x and the squared. So now, if you just think about it, if I was to break that out, I would have x and 3 and x and 3. That would give me x squared, 3x, and 9. So see how this is very close to this, because there's my x squared, there's my 6x. I've got this 9 that I don't want. Okay? And this is the next bit we're going to do over here. Just remember to subtract the extra bit you don't want. Okay, so plus 23 stays where it is. That's not moved, but I need to take away. And if I'm going to do that in a different color, because this is always a takeaway, takeaway always everything. Take away. I'm going to move that over as well. Oops, just slightly. I'm doing so well here, super well. This is a lesson in itself, guys. Perseverance. Just persevere. If you don't get it first time, keep trying. That looks a bit better. There we go. To take away, I'm going to take away my plus 3 squared. I'm going to take away 3 squared plus 3 squared. But also, that's times by 2, isn't it? This whole bracket's times by 2. I need to make sure I times that by 2 as well. So if I broke out this bracket without the 2, I would have generated a 9. But because there's a 2 in front of it, it's 9 times 2, which is 18. I need to take away that whole bit on the end there. And now I've got balance, okay? Now I've got this line here is the exact same as this line up here. So I just tidy it up. I'm going to have x plus 3 squared plus, now this is going to give me 3 squared is 9, times by 2 is 18. 23 take away 18 is going to give me plus 5. And if I was interested, the turning point is going to be negative 3, 5, which we're not in this question. Okay, so get your common factor here. We want to have the x on its own. Then you half that middle term and write it in this form. And you just need to remember to subtract what you've generated, which is this term multiplied by this term. Okay, let's go for another one. A little line down here. And then hopefully we'll start to see a little pattern. So this time I've got negative 3x squared, take away 6x plus 7. The first thing I'll do, take that common factor out. So I'm going to take the negative 3 out. That'll be x squared plus 2x plus 7. I'll just check that's okay. So times these together would give me that. Yep. Times these together give me that. All good. Then I'll half that middle term. So it's x plus 1. Half of 2 is 1. And I write it with the x and the squared. 7 stays exactly where it is, but now I need to take away by plus 1 squared multiplied by negative 3. So this is where we have to watch our negatives. So I'm going to take away plus 1 squared times negative 3. That's going to give me negative 3 x plus 1 squared plus 7. Now this is going to be 1 squared is 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Two negatives make a positive. So I'm going to end up with plus 10. Turning point here would be equal to negative 1, 10. Fantastic. And I think we've got time just for one more. I hope you're kind of noticing a little bit of a pattern, or that there's a very systematic way of doing it. It's not. I don't think this is a particularly complicated part of the quadratic section. It's very formulaic. Okay, was this? Okay, so I've just written the question out there. Exact same again. When we look at the question, this is saying complete the square. So we don't have to take a common factor out this time. We can just go straight to x plus 3 squared by halving that middle term. If I broke this out, I would generate. What would I generate? I want to get rid of this bit in here. I want to get rid of that. So I need to take away, always taking away, that always stays in there. I take away the 3 squared. I should end up with x plus 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. 11 take away 9. It's going to give me plus 2. Now I like this question because it says hence or otherwise sketch. So let me say with the turning point, let's have a think about what that would look like. So if I was to draw my axes out, that's my x-axis, and my y-axis. The turning point is going to be at negative 3, 2. Okay, so there's my turning point, negative 3, 2. Oh, sorry, up there, sorry. Way around, negative 3, 2. Maybe just up here. Negative 3, 2. It's a positive x squared, so it's going to be a happy face. And the only thing I need to write on is where it meets the y-axis. So where would this equation meet the y-axis? Well, it meets the y-axis when x is equal to 0. So if I was to substitute in, I'll just say the intercept. dy equals 0 plus 3 squared plus 2. That's going to be at 11. So this coordinate here is 0, 11. When x is 0, y is 11. I quite like that question just to kind of try and get you thinking. This one would have been a sad. You've got the negative 3 in front, so you would have drawn that upside down. That one, but the turning point would still be negative 110. And one last question. So this question, I've just taken this in the textbook because there wasn't one like this in the exam sheets. So it's the exact same as before. We will take our 5 out, so we'll end up with x squared. Take away x, take away 5. But now you'll notice we've got an odd number here. So if we half the odd number, we're going to get a fraction. So it's just to note that. So x, that's going to be take away a half squared, take away 5. Don't be scared of the fraction. Okay, that's fine. You've not done anything wrong. So what are we going to take away this time? Well, I'm going to take away, again, negative a half squared times by the 5. Let's put that in. So I'm going to take away negative a half squared multiplied by 5. Just on the side here, I'm going to do negative a half times negative a half. We should know that's positive a quarter. Two negatives make a positive. 2 times 2 is 4. For the next line, I'll say, okay, I've got x, take away a half squared, take away 5, and I'm taking away 5 times a quarter. I'm taking away 5 quarters. All I've done there is 5 times a quarter. And what I want to do now is turn this into quarters. So 5 quarters times that by 4. I'm going to get 20 over 4. So my final line is going to be, I'm going to get cut off really soon. I'm going to get cut off would be negative 25 over 4. Fantastic.